where do you think, and I'm interested to know what you think through working with the character Kate, but also maybe your own experiences of where self-worth comes from. Do you think it's age, experience, perhaps cultivated with a little bit of discipline? I'm not even sure myself. I think I could probably only pin it on experience myself, but I wonder what you think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes parenting, like, the sense of when you grow up, like how you're perceived by your parents and given sense of self-worth, of like autonomy and strength. I think some of it will come from that. I know that I've got like deep down, I have got a very strong sense of self-belief, but I kind of cover it up sometimes, or I sort of hide it, or I don't hide it. It's sort of something that it disappears every now and then or something, or or other things get on top. So I don't quite know where that comes from and why that happens. But I think self-worth, like you said, experience, like, I mean, with me, my career, it's like that's taken me a long time to feel, okay, now I've done enough now. I can have a break. I don't have to prove myself every time. I can now experiment a bit more, or have a bit more fun, or try something really random, or step outside the box and not chase. I can actually just be. And that comes from experience and doing it over and over again.
And also, I guess, facing a lot of what you faced as an actor, I've faced certainly in my line of work, not so much these days because I sort of do my own thing now, but rejection. You have to face rejection as an actor. It's a given that that's going to be part of your path. There is no exception there. And perhaps having to deal with that makes you look at, well, no, I know what my worth is, even if this person doesn't see it.
Yeah.
And you have to if you want to continue. Otherwise, you'd give up after the first audition.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a resilience and determination. That's why I said, like, actually the belief to get through that and to keep sort of continuing despite all that stuff. I don't know where that really comes from. I think there's something about being seen, like really truly being seen. Like we always talk about that, about finding friends or relationships and people that kind of can see you and don't judge you for your big emotional moments, or when you're having a breakdown, or when you're manic, and they kind of love you for all those bits. And that helps self-worth, definitely, because if you're not ashamed of it, you're not made to feel shame for those things, then you can fully be realized and yourself, and not and kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, so you have to have the right people around you. For you, certainly, to do the job you're doing, you have to have the right people around you.
Yeah, and trust that you can take those risks and you'll be held in some way, or people won't. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I think over time, you just, like you say, time, age, and experience.
Yeah.
Hopefully you gain it.
Certainly.
My mum now, she's like in her 70s, and she seems happier and more content than I've ever seen her. And so I think that's the journey of life. You just get to a point of full acceptance, in a way, of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, we're a similar age, and I certainly, when I turned 40, in a sort of cliche way, but I know it's also due to sort of experience and what I've been through, do feel like I can just be me. And I certainly didn't before. I certainly felt that there had to be a bit of a cover-up job to be, well, like you mentioned earlier, like sort of to appear interesting, or why would people listen to me? Whereas I've sort of found what I now believe is my strength and what I want to do, and I feel relatively good about that. And I think age is a big one, and perhaps you can't really force that. I couldn't be who I am now in my 20s. You almost have to go through all of that to get to it, maybe.
So there's like a loss. It's sort of interesting. When I'm just turned 40, so it was interesting. You do reflect a lot, and I was like, oh, it's interesting. When you're in your 20s and 30s, there's a sort of blind optimism, because you don't think about death, you don't think about the end. You're kind of like, I'm going to live forever, and there's an optimism of what you can achieve and what is out there and what's possible. And I think you do come to a point of going, acceptance that that's not always the case, but I'm going to go this way or that way. It's like, actually there's a sort of, there feels like a slight grief over that boundless optimism. But actually with that is wisdom and a more sense of acceptance.
Yeah, the illusion shatters, doesn't it, to some extent? You go, oh, actually, that whole mad dream that I wanted to fulfill, my priorities are so different to how they were in my 20s. I think it goes for most people that you do go off on different tangents and like you say, there is grief. I certainly had that when I sort of left my old broadcasting career, the thing I'd done for years and years, and started out doing new stuff like, who am I in this role? What does this mean? You know, I'm letting go of all this stuff, but it's exciting. It's a good thing. And it's nice to feel comfortable. I don't think, you know, I certainly still have insecurities and I might not ever feel completely comfy in my skin, and there's an acceptance there as well. But it certainly feels like I'm getting there. And like you say with your mum, I've got friends who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and most of them do say, apart from the aches and pains, it does get better. You know, it does get better and you feel more you, if there is such a thing.